war in Ukraine has gone on for more than a year now. And as time goes on, it just feels more as if the United States and NATO are the ones who are actually fighting a war with Russia. And if we look back at the footage of a particular lawmaker, we can see just how true that is. Do you guys feel as if Ukraine was always going to be, just a war zone? Or do we actually have their best interest at heart? I want you guys to realize that even though we don't see it, families are dying. People are actually dying out there in the streets. And even with peace at hand, there's a pushback that's coming from a different direction. And let me ask you guys, where do you think that's coming from? Now, there's also talks of lawmakers from our country calling on the arrest of Vladimir Putin, while Europe may be discreetly agreeing to peace talks from China since they're not happy about us blowing up the whole Nord Stream pipelines and driving up their energy prices. Yeah, that was kind of frowned upon. And I got a lot of footage that you guys need to see, so you're definitely going to want to watch until the end of this video. Now, before I continue, please take a second, smash the like button for the video. It really helps a lot out with the YouTube algorithm, and it encourages me to keep pushing relevant content to you guys. And if you guys are in need of your daily dose of the truth when it comes to global happenings, the state of our economy, social security, the stock market, the housing market, and what's going on in Washington, D.C. that affects our lives, our families, and our bank accounts, make sure to subscribe. And for the best way to invest in gold, hit the link in the description down below of this video. Now, you may already know this, but the State Department announced recently that the United States will send Ukraine $350 billion more in weapons and equipment. And if your pockets are hurting, well, get ready for more pain, as NATO has just announced that the United States, along with allies, have to be ready for the long haul, as they don't think that Russia will be ever ready to settle for peace. But wait, hasn't Putin signaled multiple times that they're ready to talk? The same signals that are being received after Russian president met with China's Xi Jinping. But what is it again that happens with history? Oh yeah, it repeats itself. Now, remember when Turkey had a plan for peace, but then the United States and Britain stepped in and was like, nah, don't talk about peace? That would be crazy. You guys remember that, right? Well, if you don't, listen to this write-up by Waltz Zottow, president of the Western Peace Coalition. Quote, a year ago, when NATO member Turkey neared a 15-point negotiated settlement, the US and the UK sent a top official to Kiev not to request, but to demand that Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky walk away to keep fighting. The grotesque demand led to over 100,000 unnecessary Ukraine deaths over the next year. A third of the Ukraine economy vanished. 6 million left Ukraine and another 6 million relocated, end quote. Now, he also adds that Europe is actually on board with this Chinese peace plan. And check this out, quote, outside of the United States and Australia, the rest of the world is cheering on China's peace efforts. Even European NATO countries are likely, though silently, on board. They're not thrilled about the United States blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline and tripling their energy costs to degrade Russia, end quote. You know who isn't on board with this peace plan? Secretary of State Anthony Blinken.
Calling for a ceasefire that does not include the removal of Russian forces from Ukrainian territory would effectively be supporting the ratification of Russian conquest. It would recognize Russia's attempts to seize a sovereign neighbor's territory by force. It would enable Russia to further entrench positions in Ukraine. And a ceasefire now, without a durable solution, would allow President Putin to rest and refit his troops and then restart the war at a time more advantageous to Russia. The world should not be fooled by any tactical move by Russia, supported by China or any other country, to freeze the war on its own terms. Such a move would violate the UN Charter and defy the will of 141 countries who have condemned Russia's war in the United Nations General Assembly.
Are they admitting that the Ukraine is getting that badly beat out there? Because that's what it sounds like. Because look at it from the perspective of a boxer. You get a few seconds to sit down after each round, right? But depending upon the damage that you've taken, that rest that you're given, it will continue to provide more time for whoever is already at an advantage. So having a ceasefire would give NATO and the United States more time to arm Ukraine once again, while Russia does the same. Now, the problem is, which side do you think has taken more damage at this point? Now, also just remember this statement, which sounds awfully familiar. It's as if it was just reworded. But check out this footage of National Security Council Strategic Communications Coordinator John Kirby.
Now, but what we have said before, and we'll say it again today, that if coming out of this meeting, there's some sort of call for a ceasefire, well, that's just going to be unacceptable, because all that's going to do, Mike, is ratify Russia's conquest to date. All that's going to do is give Mr. Putin more time to refit, retrain, reman, and try to plan for renewed offensives at a time of his choosing. We hope, and we've said this before, that President Xi will call and talk to President Zelensky, because we believe the Chinese need to get the Ukrainian perspective here.
So no peace talks? And it's clear with NATO's recent move of sending 300,000 soldiers onto the borders. It really feels as if we're at war with Russia directly. And if we go back in time, this can actually be backed up by Congressman Adam Schiff. Watch this.
Most critically, the military aid that we provide Ukraine helps to protect and advance American national security interests in the region and beyond. America has an abiding interest in stemming Russian expansionism and resisting any nation's efforts to remake the map of Europe by dint of military force, even as we have tens of thousands of troops stationed there. Moreover, as one witness put it during our impeachment inquiry, the United States aids Ukraine and her people so that we can fight Russia over there and we don't have to fight Russia here.
Do I need to paint you guys a picture with that one? I mean, like, we're the ones fighting Russia, but we're doing it on Ukraine soil. And if we're talking about America's interests, it feels as if this next video of Senator Lindsey Graham may explain it very well.
If Putin came to the United States for whatever reason, would we turn him over to the ICC?
Well, I can't get ahead of that because obviously I have to look at the laws and rules. As you know, we're not actually a party to the ICC, so I don't want to engage in that hypothetical. But
I would encourage you that if he came here, we should turn him over.
Now, I don't think he has any plans to travel here soon.
Yeah, well, he's being there's an arrest warrant for Putin by the ICC for kidnapping children in Ukraine and taking them to Russia. Is that
right.
Pretty much it, right?
Yep.
If Putin came to the United States for whatever reason, would we turn him over to the ICC?
Well, I can't get ahead of that because obviously I have to look at the laws and rules. As you know, we're not actually a party to the ICC, so I don't want to engage in that hypothetical. But
I would encourage you that if he came here, we should turn him over.
Now, I don't think he has any plans to travel here soon.
Now, hear me out. Much like how we've meddled with other countries, heck, we did it to Ukraine, and now look at them. It seems more and more evident that a regime change is what they're looking for in Russia. What do you guys think? Any thoughts on everything that we talked about today? Make sure to let yourself be heard in the comment section below. Now, speaking of change, how much has changed for you and your household these past few years? Have you been swiping your credit card more? Frequenting food banks? Applying for SNAP, maybe EBT benefits? Are you worried about housing, bankruptcy, social security benefits not covering your needs? Now, I know that a lot of us are financially struggling at the moment, but it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to continue to be struggling with our problems that we face. There's plenty of opportunities out there, but you gotta be willing to step out of your comfort zone to be able to realize them. I mean, just think of multiple income streams. Like, if you're an entrepreneur, like, why not start a couple of side hustles or small businesses? I mean, if you're a budding investor, the stock market, even real estate, there could be some great opportunities as long as you're willing to learn about them. Learning is a huge part of the process. And if you're willing to do that, then maybe you will benefit from joining us over in the Patreon community. There's a link in the description down below this video. Now, before I go, guys, don't forget to drop a thumbs up for the video. Also subscribe for your daily dose of the truth. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you on the next one.